All right, good morning, everyone. Tiffany Davila, Public Affairs Officer for the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management. Today, we'll be providing the 2025 Wildland Fire Season Outlook for you. We'll have two speakers, Governor Hobbs and our Fire Management Officer, John Truitt. After they're done speaking, we will open it up for questions and answers. Governor?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. In Arizona, wildfire season is year-round, and communities across the state are at risk on any given day. That was just reiterated for us during the recent fires in LA. But as we head into the hot summer months, obviously that risk is a lot greater. And just under the leadership of Director Torres, the Department of Forestry and Fire Management is making sure that the state is well prepared for another intense wildfire season. Uh, the department has treated over 23,000 acres in the state since July, and the goal is to have 30,000 acres treated by the end of the fiscal year. Uh, Also, last year, with the signing of the bill to join the Great Plains Interstate Fire Compact, it makes resources much more available to us when we need them the most. Uh, the department has been conducting interagency trainings with local districts and our federal partners, and I know that those partnerships are really strong, which is really critical as we head into the season. And the prevention campaign, Spark Safety, Not Wildfires, is really critical when we're talking about prevention. I want to talk about that because really that is what we can all do most to help mitigate the wildfire season that we're headed into. We all need to take personal responsibility and make sure that when we are outdoors on public lands, we are not leaving campfires unattended, that we are being as cautious as possible when using tools that could that can cause sparks, use spark arresters, securing chains on vehicles, and not pulling vehicles off the road into tall grasses. These are all things that can be incredibly uh, uh, risky and spark wildfires. Also, target shooting and fireworks, not things that are allowed on state lands. As well as protecting your own property, that's really critical, clearing dead vegetation, moving flammable material away from your home, and removing leaf litter from rooftops and gutters. All of these actions will help lessen the intensity and risk of fires spreading and allow our firefighters to do the work they need to do to put out fires as quickly as possible. Most fires are human caused, not maliciously, but just by taking these actions, we can all do our part to prevent them. Wildfire prevention saves lives, it protects property, and preserves our land, and we all have to work together to mitigate the impact. Thank you all so much, and I will turn it over to Chief Truitt. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Hobbs. Today we are able to present Governor Hobbs with our fire season potential outlook. And after discussing that, I'm just going to again reiterate that we're coming off of several years of drought. We're experiencing a very extreme dryness out in our vegetation this year, so much that it's a heightened awareness that any start is going to go and it's going to really tap into our resource and our ability to fight fire. That's why it's so important to have that cooperative, with our federal partners, our local fire departments, basically the Arizona Fire Service in general is going to be tasked this year just due to the dryness of the fire season that's at hand. I do want to emphasize again what Governor Hobbs stressed on was public education. A lot of our starts are human caused, and those are they can be preventable. So just be cautious when you're out using clearing your properties, out recreating, doing towing chain. We just had a recent incident where we had a chain drag 20 miles and created 18 new fires within that 20 miles. So that tells us that the probability of ignition is way up. So again, use extreme caution when you're out in the woods and when you're doing your clearance. And most important, your clearance around your structures allows us and our other fire departments to get in and defend those communities and do our best to eliminate and kind of prevent any structure loss. So with that, again, be careful and good luck. Yep.
I wanted to say we were having some speaker issues today. The video, this will be posted to Facebook, so that will have better sound. We'll start with fire. We'll start with fire related questions. I got a fire related. I know, and then we'll get to others. Go for it. Yep.
Done. Not that we've done this a few times. Last year, you told us it was a very wet winter, and therefore we had a lot of grass that was going to dry out. This year we had a very dry winter, and yet we're still. I mean, is this just? I mean, this so is a wet winter versus a dry winter? I mean, make us understand because last year was all about the wet winter. We didn't have rain for 400 some days.
Yeah. So again, it's all seasonality and it's over periods of time. So as we get a wet winter, obviously we get the fine fuels growing, and that a wet winter and an extended winter will shorten the fire season up. Now that we went into this fall with the very dry conditions, all that carryover vegetation now has dried, and it's about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time as far as curing goes. So we're looking at an earlier curing of the fuels and a longer duration of a fire season. Anytime you add wind like that to a fire environment, you're going to get catastrophic loss. So for us, our awareness is always there. We're always going to be looking at how we can defend our communities. An average summer day can lead to structure loss if we don't do the prevention measures out there. But again, a lot of us have been doing this for a long time. We've fought in fires out in the West. It's not unusual to have those type of fires burn through those urban interfaces like that, especially when you put hurricane force winds behind them. You're going to get catastrophic loss. We're trying to prevent that. Public education, our response time, working with our Department of Emergency Management on, doing our due diligence on pre-season planning, doing evacuation procedures, those kind of things, just to keep the public safe. My personal opinion, yeah, it is. It's a lot drier, and a lot of fire service folks here have been in the state for a long time. This is one of the most critical years that we've seen in our careers. So now you're going to have an average. You don't need an extreme event right now to have fire carry, and we'll have multiple fires carried through the state. Once that comes, that really stretches the resources very thin. And then with all the other stuff like you mentioned going out through the west and over in the East Coast, national resources are at a drawdown right now. So we have to be very cautious on how we're going to aid our partners out west. We need to maintain our staffing here home, and we always will do that, stay diligent, and make sure we have enough coverage here in the state.
If there is adequate compensation for firefighters, they've expressed struggles with meeting, staying competitive with other firefighters, staying up with inflation. Do you feel like firefighters are being compensated adequately, and if there's any
Well, with again Governor Hobbs' support, the increase in firefighter pay will help. But again, with the way things are going with inflation, with the competitive status of other agencies, we really need to make sure that we're paying our firefighters top dollar to attract, the most qualified folks and have that big recruiting pool available to us. Again, what I stated before is anytime you put that kind of wind condition behind in a fire environment, there is potential here in the valley. We have that vegetation growing, very close to the outside of the communities. You have those multi-track homes. Once it gets established within those rows of homes, and you're driving it with the wind, that becomes the fuel driver. It's no longer the vegetation; it's the homes. So we've all been involved in our careers with those Santa Ana type winds, the Lahaina type winds. We can't have that here. It may not be as frequent as they do in California, but we do have that potential here. No, and on the grant side, I can turn that over to our director. But as far as the partnerships we have with our federals, that we meet with them very often and coordinate our resource response and our resource availability. Right now, it does not affect us. It does not affect them on our staffing and the resources that they can provide us. Yeah, with the Department of Forestry and Fire Management, we have our wildfire mitigation plan. And what that plan is to go out and look at potential areas, high risk areas, and go out and do what we call a fuels reduction. Get that fuel loading to a point where that fire isn't going to be so intense where it's going to take and drive into that community. So we're working with our federal partners, and again, our director can go into working with our federal partners. But we're doing large landscape, trying to get the forest and the vegetation back to its natural fire regime that we call. Right now, it's overstocked. We've been fighting fire a long time. We've put that in that consideration, in that condition. But right now, we're doing a lot of preventive measures by trying to thin that vegetation down to where it's a more natural type fire spread.
Hey, good morning. I'm Tom Torres. I'm the Director of Forestry and Fire Management, also known as the State Forester. So the question about federal grants and federal resources, I'm happy to say that we have not experienced any cuts to already awarded grants, whether they're for making resources available to our partners that include local fire districts or monies that we use to work with our federal partners to address wildfires. So we are in constant communication with all the jurisdictional authorities, that includes the feds, on how we respond to and manage wildfire incidents. So regarding staffing, we are almost fully staffed. This is the time of year where we bring on some of our seasonal firefighters that man some of the or staff some of the engines that you see behind me. We are on pace to staff all of our positions that we are funded for. With regard to funding, that is always a very difficult question to answer because it's really dependent not only on the number of starts but where they occur and how we fight them. Last year we were really aggressive, and it showed because we expended a number of resources and funding to pre-deploy. That's one of the ways in which we help communities prepare for wildfire is we pre-deploy resources, and we're sought to increase the number of aircraft in the state. We're doing the same thing this year, so we track our funding and our costs on a regular basis, and so it's hard to say.